Good morning, everybody. I am Harmony with the Fix It Fair. We have Lori with us from United Community Credit Union and Financial Beginnings. We are going to go ahead and kick it off in just a couple housekeeping items real quick. If you are joining us on Zoom, welcome. Down at the bottom of your screen, if you take your mouse and just kind of hover over it, you'll see a toolbar pop up. And there's an area that has Q&A and chat. If you have any questions throughout the presentation, please feel free to drop them in either of those places. We'll be monitoring those and we will be sure to answer all of those before we end today. If you are joining us on Facebook Live, same deal, just drop your questions into the comments and I will be keeping an eye on that too and make sure that Lori knows the questions that we have there before we wrap up today. So this is our final Financial Beginnings workshop. We're both like a little weepy here. We have loved having everyone throughout these last couple months. Without further ado, Lori, I will kick it off to you.
All right, thank you, Harmony. Good morning, everyone. I'm so excited to be here. Sad this is our last opportunity to share the morning hours together, but we're going to finish off strong with goals and tools. And I'd really like to start off with the word adjust. So adjust is going to be a big word, and I hope that you all can retain that one particular word with SMART goals. So my girls played softball, and one thing that with softball, constantly the word adjust was provided. Playing softball, you've got a pitcher that's throwing that ball, you've got someone that's batting, and the speed of the pitch would change. The way that you hit that ball when it's being thrown would really impact how far you're going to get. So again, that word has been huge. And I know with COVID, that has changed the dynamics for so many of you. And the first word that I thought about with COVID was adjust. And adjust is a big part of our goals. It's a big part of our tools. And it's just a big part of life happens. So that is my key word today, my departing main word. And I'm excited to go ahead and just get this started. So I'm going to bring up my PowerPoint. Okay. Here we go. Goals and tools. Get set to own your financial future. I really do like this a lot. And remember, everyone that has joined us, which thank you again, a key word is adjust. Goals, tools, life happening, adjusting is just a big part of that. And that's what's so great is that you can adjust your goals and tools constantly. And I think, again, that COVID's just really shown us in the past year that that is a big part of life. All right, what would you do if you won the lottery? So I'm going to share with all of you that my answer in my teen years, my answer in my 20s, my answer in my 30s and 40s are all very different. In my teens and my early 20s, I guarantee you I would have answered it in this order. Buy a car, buy a house. Okay, maybe buy a car would have been the first thing. Buy a house, pay off my parents' debt. That probably would have been equal. Probably paying off their debt first. That would be the main goal. That changed hugely. Again, buying a house was right there. But in my 30s, I really realized the importance of investing. And if I won the lottery, why and how I would want to make sure that I was investing. So I think that those are some big things. Traveling. Now in my life, if you ask me what would I do if I won the lottery, the first answer is I would invest it because I want to make more money off that. I want to make that money last as long as possible. The second thing would be paying off my home. I'm not sure if I would buy a new home. I would buy a vacation home, however. All right, so that's my first question to you. And we're going to talk about some long-term, intermediate, and short-term goals today. And what I shared with you on things and how I would answer the first question is, how would you spend your money on winning the lottery? Well, I don't have to win the lottery to achieve those goals. And this is where long-term, intermediate, and short-term goals and the tools you need to achieve them, you do not need to win the lottery. So here's some long-term goals: retirement, children's college fund, buying a home, buying a second home, traveling. I know that for some of you that are in your teenage years or even in your 20s, retirement is just like, what? How, that is so far away. Well, for some of you, it really doesn't have to be that far away. You could retire if you were really set on your goals and your tools to achieve them. You could retire earlier. 50s, a lot of people get to start retiring in their 50s, but 60 is the most common age. And what we're really finding is that not a lot of people are set up for retirement. Again, just bringing back, I think that with the last 13, we're almost on 14 months, it seems like, because it seems like last March, we really started to go into lockdown, and we're almost in May. April showers bring May flowers. So we've got about 14 months now with COVID and experiencing a lot of change. We're going to talk about our savings. We're going to talk about having emergency savings. This past 14 months has really brought forth how important that is and why it's really important to not only talk amongst ourselves about that, but if you have children, or if you have siblings that are younger than you, or you have neighbors, if you have anyone around, share and bring up this conversation. Hey, how did you start your emergency savings? Do you have emergency savings? Is that in your future forecast? Let's really talk about these things, because if we don't talk about it, you don't know what you don't know until you know. And that has been a big part of my journey the last 3 years, especially teaching more financial education classes, going into schools, going into different organizations. I have learned so much myself, different companies, when people bring up different questions or they share different things. So this is really why we want to talk about these things and share this information. Intermediate, buying a home, getting married, purchasing a car. Short-term, vacation, a new phone. Ooh, phones cost more than my first and my second car. I paid cash for my first car. I think I want to tell you it was $350, but it might have been $300. My second car was a Volkswagen Bug, 1970 Volkswagen Bug. I paid $800 cash for that. So when I look at a cell phone today, it is really hard for me to spend money on that. I make sure that I have the glass protector. I make sure that I spend a really good amount of money on my phone protector, because I want that phone to last me for as long as I can, just like how my cars, I'm one of those people, I get a car and I keep it until the end. Another short-term, gifts. Gifts, these are big things. Some people have birthdays around the same time frame. It seems to be a lot of birthdays, a lot of weddings in the summertime. What about during the holidays, in the winter? December is a pretty special month for gifts and providing gifts to your loved ones. So these are really important areas of our lives, and you do not need to win the lottery to achieve these goals. So this is what we're going to talk about today. SMART goals. SMART, S-M-A-R-T. So S stands for specific. What will I achieve, or who will benefit? Why is this important? So what will I achieve, or what will the benefit be? This would be really great if you want to buy your first car, or if you need to buy a new car. I'm actually in the conversations with one of my best friends about this right now. She's had a great family car, Suburban, for about 12 years. It has about 230,000 miles on it, but it's a gas guzzler. And when it needs repairs, it costs a lot of money. A couple years ago, well, actually, I think it would be about 4 years ago now, my girls were driving my car to school and there was an accident. The car was totaled. And I will tell you, I knew that I needed to get a new car. That was not in my budget. That was really frightening me. It was, what was my insurance going to go up to? The car that I had at the time, it was paid off without my girls knowing it. That was a car that I was going to let them use. So I knew that I was going to be getting a new car for myself in the next 6 months. And I had forecasted that as a goal and what that amount would be. What I did not and what I was not prepared for was life happening. What was going to happen to my insurance? How much was my insurance going to go up? How was that going to impact me in the next 6 to 12 months and really the next 3 years? All right, measurable.
Hey,
How much?
Lori,
Yes.
Lori, this is Harmony. This is fabulous. We don't see your PowerPoint though,
Oh,
which is fine. And I can share my screen or you can share your
oh
screen.
my
but I didn't
goodness.
I wanted to add that in.
Oh, yes. Can you see me?
I see you. You look great.
Oh,
Yeah.
all
We just
right.
don't see the PowerPoint.
Well, you know what? Why don't you go ahead and pull the screen up? Because I can see my PowerPoint. I'm so sorry, everyone. Let me go ahead and end this. Oh, you know what? Or would you like, maybe I didn't share. I'm just going to end the show.
Yeah, why don't you go ahead and share your screen, and if that doesn't work, I'll pull up mine.
Here, let me do this. Can you see it now?
Nope.
Okay, let's try this. Let's try one more. All right, let me just try this again. I'm going to share my screen. Oh, here we go, I bet.
Now we see it.
All right,
Awesome.
all right, Harmony, should we really let the crowd know that this was really to see if they were with us this morning?
I mean, you were doing great. It was totally flowing. I was like, I think that this presentation would have started now. Oh yeah.
All right.
Yes. Thank you, Lori.
Yes, thank you, Harmony. Thank you, everyone, because so just so you know, this was one of my favorite, this was goals when I was talking about the long-term, intermediate, short-term. I love the mountains in the background and the road because I look at this as life's journey and a road trip. So I always love this slide. All right, let me go. Here we are, everyone. Okay, so this is where I'm at. So if you want to take notes while we're going through it, if you're with us live, this is what I'm going over right now. Specific, so that's where SMART goals. I just love this. What will I achieve or who will benefit? Why is this important? This is the specific. M, measurable. How much? How many? How will I know when it is done? So for me on measurable, how much was my insurance going to go up? How much is the automobile? All right, A for an attainable. Is this goal something I can actually reach? Again, that's why I love that first question when we started off of what would you do if you won the lottery? Well, some things that did not change between my teens and where I'm at in life right now are a home or paying off my home, paying off any debt that my family would have. Right now in my life, maybe I'd get a new car, but I don't really need a new car. And I'm definitely in a place in my life where I have a car that I love. It's a Toyota Venza. I just love my car. And I just don't think at this time of my life that there's any need for me to have a different car, unless maybe it was a Toyota 4Runner. I will tell you, but my children are not small anymore, so I don't need that type of a car. I'd rather use any extra funds for my retirement. That's really, I just want to get to that next step. I'm in a place in life with enough life happening and life experience that I'm very content and in my life. All right, relevant. So R is for relevant. Is this something I really want? Now is the time to do this. So again, that's kind of why I used my car as an example. I just know that that's not currently in my budget. That's not one of my goals. I have the car that I really love. So right now I don't have a lot of miles on it. I've had it for quite a while. This was really the car that I saw myself going into my future for the next 10, 12 years. I'm one of those people, I buy a car, I get it paid off, and then I hold on to it. Time-based, by what date must this goal be reached? So SMART, specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-based. You really want to make sure that you're putting that time base on there, because a lot of times to achieve these goals, and when you're dissecting it, time is really involved and you have to be patient. Some of us like instant gratification. We can't always get the instant gratification that's going to serve our purpose the best or make life the easiest. So time-based is really important. Time-based would be not only buying a car, but if you are looking at buying a home, this is going to be your first home. This is really effective. The specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-based. This is really, really important. And time-based really helps you stick to that. If it's going to take you 12 to 18 months to save up to purchase a home, then that's what you want to base this time on. And that's what's going to help you day by day, week by week, month by month. Something else that's really helpful, I shared with you that my girls played sports. Sports were something that I had to implement pretty much every year from the time they started playing sports. There was uniforms, equipment. Again, surprising, a softball bat costs a lot of money. A mitt can cost a lot of money. A good helmet. One of my daughters was a catcher. So let me tell you what, you learn that you want to spend more money on getting a nice helmet than not. So these are really effective in your planning. And these are tools that you want to have for your goals. All right, let's go to the next slide. Lifeline activity. Okay, so here's a question. What are the activities in your lifeline that you want to achieve? If you have a piece of paper and a pen, write down some things. If you don't have a piece of paper and pen on you right now and you're coming back to listen to this later, grab a piece of paper and a pen and think about what you want in your lifeline. What do you want for your future self starting off today? Is a cell phone on that plan? Is a car on that plan? What about a home? What about retirement? Something simple for me, I really want a pressure washer. I love a pressure washer. I staycation a lot, and I love to pressure wash my decks so that they look clean. We live in Oregon, so the rain, the mold, the mildew, everything falls. I've got to stain my decks. I love outdoor carpets. And I have indoor carpets. We have 2 dogs. So I love to use that pressure washer and use it in the summertime and let the sun dry it. There is nothing more refreshing. I just love it, but that costs money. Well, this particular year I have budgeted. That was just something because I have been grateful enough that I've had people loan me their pressure washer. And last year I had a pressure washer on loan for me for the full day, and whoo, it was great. I just did so much, but this year that's one of my short term. So on the lifeline activity, put put big things that you have down. This is going to help us identify some short-term, intermediate, and long-term. It could be a vacation. What kind of a vacation do you want to take? So with these lifeline things, do you want to achieve this in your 20s? Do you want to achieve it in your 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s? Include that. These are time-based. And then this really is going to help you structure, are these short-term, intermediate, or long-term? You know, in my 20s, even when I was graduating from high school, one thing that I wanted a house, I wanted a car, a boat, 2 dogs. And that really was a big part of my life. I loved the water. I loved being around with my friends. We live in Oregon, so in the summertime, I loved being at the water. Those were huge goals for me. And in my 20s, I was going to college. And then I was not quite sure what I wanted to do in college. So I stopped going to college. Then I got a job and I was making pretty good money at the grocery store. But at that time, we never had a set schedule. I didn't have set hours. So sometimes I would get 20 hours. Sometimes I'd get 32 hours. When I really started identifying my goals for myself, one of the goals was I was going to move to Southern California. I was able to write down what my goals were, my time frame, and I could see based off of my income and my current expenses, and knowing that if I wanted to move to Southern California, it was going to be even more expensive, and I was going to have to get a new car. I was going to have to change jobs, work more hours, and I really loved where I worked, and they were not able to necessarily provide me, they could not guarantee me up to 40 hours. So what I did is I continued working there, and then I got a second job. So I was working about 70 hours a week because I knew by sitting down and looking at my goals that I needed to make more money. One other thing that I had in my early 20s was planning a trip to Germany. I had a friend that was stationed over there, and that was a big, big part of it. So I saved up about $2,000. And at the time, I was making maybe $5.50 an hour. That was kind of close to minimum wage, maybe a little bit more than minimum wage. So I worked about 70 hours a week. I was able to save that money, and it was easy for me not to spend that money because I was working so many hours. I would hope for most of you that that's not the route that you have to take. And that's why I'm sharing so many of my own life experiences. But take this time and do a lifeline activity for yourself, for wherever you're at, and look at the next future life, your future self and your future life. Write these things down for different 25 to 30, 35 to 40, 40 to 45. What do you want to accomplish, and what's it going to take? That will really help you identify what you're going to need to do. And that's where those SMART goals come in. All right, life is expensive. Well, I love this picture. This is really great. We've got a home. This is something that either you're going to rent or you're going to purchase. So even renting, anytime that you want to move, there are typically costs involved. Rents have really increased a lot over the last 8 years. So on rents, if you want to move to a different state, if you want to move to a different location, you'll want to see, what am I going to have to do? Am I going to have the first and last months? Do you have pets? Are you going to have pet deposits? If you're going to buy a home, if you're going to buy a home, start preparing now. Start looking now. When I say start looking now, look into what it's going to take. This is how you're going to reach your SMART goals. Go talk to a loan officer or a mortgage specialist. Sit down with them now so that you can plan this out. This will really set you up for some great success. Here's going out dining. I mean, I bet you a lot of us have really realized how much we did enjoy meeting up with our friends just to go out and not have to prepare meals. I will tell you, I am one though that I didn't dine out a lot. And if I did dine out a lot, it was usually for some type of birthday or some type of occasion. I really like to eat at home. And again, I'm a huge staycation. I love to have potlucks where my friends come over and we get together and everyone brings something. I will tell you, I do like to go meet my friends for coffee when it's their birthday. Instead of going out for breakfast or lunch, I found that it was not as expensive and we could sit there and have a coffee. And I love the environment of a coffee place. So that's one thing. And then you've got your automobile. You know, what kind of an automobile do you like? Do you want to buy a truck? Do you want to buy a sports car? Do you want to buy an economic? For any of you that are going to be graduating from high school, that are going to be that, you know, if you're going to go into the trades, into construction, if you're going to go into plumbing, you want to be an electrician, something in that you want to think about now. When you get this job, is this job, it's a great job. B, you're getting paid as you're learning these skills, but are you going to be driving long distances? That's really, really common. When you're looking at your career, but especially in the trades, if you're an electrician and you mainly work on new buildings and new structures, you're going to probably drive at least 35 to 50 miles to get to work and back every day. So when you're going into this career, you want to be thinking about this because you could get a Ford 350, great, or a Tundra. However, if you look at the cost of that truck, the gas mileage, you might want to compare that maybe to a mid-size car just for right now, your commuting car. Could you buy a commuting car for $10,000, get that paid off in 2 years, and use that as your commuting car, then not have a car payment for 2 or 3 years? So by the time that you hit your top wage in this industry, that you possibly already have some savings set aside, and then you can go buy your truck, and that will be for your everyday life. That's just a fun tip. And that's because we see a lot of that. And that's just something in life experience. Think about these type of things. Again, you don't know what you don't know until you know. And this is why it's really great that we're having this, workshop, and why it's really great to talk to others about the different things that you learn so that others will share it with you. All right, I'm ready for the next slide. So, all right, I think I just froze up. So I'm going to take myself off video. All right, next slide. How much will these cost? Okay, for some of you on that Lifeline activity, that's where you're going to write down your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. These are going to be on your Lifeline activities for a lot of us: education, career, family, retirement, and major purchases. So I'll use one of my daughters, my oldest daughter. She will be 21, and she is currently finishing up her 4-year degree at college, and she will be moving to Montana in August for her master's degree. She will be getting married next June, and then she will have 1 more year left for her master's degree. And then at that time, I don't know if she's going to move back to Oregon or if she'll stay in the state that she is completing her master's degree. So these are some big things. In her early 20s, she's going to be finishing up her education. She is also planning for a wedding right now. And the first thing that she wants to do after she is completed her master's degree is her big goal is buying a home. So that is one of her biggest things. Buying a car is something that she is also having to do right now because she is going to be moving to a different state and the weather is really different. They get a lot of snow. So she has to get a used new car that has all-wheel drive. So these are, by the time that she's 25, she has a lot on her Lifeline activity sheet. Career, she's going into the health field. So what is really fortunate for her is in the health field, she will probably have so many different opportunities. So she makes any career changes. she'll be pretty much set up at least in the health field. She loves the health field. Family. So again, this is part of her lifeline, not part of mine. But she's also going to be getting married. Retirement. This is something that I've really been talking to her about, and her future husband, is as soon as they get into their careers, if they have a 401k, anything that they have before they have children, just really take advantage of that. Even when they get their tax returns back, taking a portion of that, putting it into an IRA. Because once they have children and once they expand their family, which is part of their goal, they will have other expenses. So they may have to pay in less to their retirement. That's why the younger that you are, it gives you the longer length in time to apply towards your retirement. All right, so again, these are going to be on a lot of your lifeline activities. What about career? So for many of us, we get into a career and we realize this is not really where I'm feeling my most passion, or I don't think I really like this career. Some people will go to school, some people will just land in a job, and they'll be like, this isn't making the most of my life. So they want to make a career change, and a career change can involve going back to school, deciding, depending on what you want that to be. Or if you want to change careers and you go work for a new employer, your income may start out less. So these are reasons why we really have to look at those lifeline activities so that you can make this happen for yourself. These goals and these tools help you get to that next level. All right, have you ever created a budget? How do you determine how much you need to borrow? And don't automatically take the total student loan amount offered if this is a route you're going. If you're someone that's going to go to college, or if you're in the middle of making a career change and you have found that you are going to have to go back to school and you will need some assistance, if you don't need all of the student loan amount that is offered to you, don't take it. When you get a loan, that is the key word, you have to pay that back. So if you don't need all of that, don't take it. And what we've seen is that, when you've never made payments on loans, for instance, with student loans right out of high school, going into college, the majority of college students haven't already had a loan. So even though they're taking out these loans, they graduate and then they start their career, and then they're paying on these loans for, maybe 2 years, 5 years, 10 years. It really depends on if you planned for this. Did you plan for your student loans? This was something that we've kind of talked about in our previous classes and workshops, is when you take loans out, plan for these. This is part of your life. If you're going to take student loans out to further your education, and that's going to help your career path, that is the best investment you have. But just make sure that you have a plan. And again, that's where these SMART goals come in. How do you determine how much you need to borrow? That's just for anything. If you want to buy a house, if you want to buy a car, looking at the payments, having this plan. So many of us, whether you think that you've created a budget or not, if you haven't written this down on a piece of paper, you still are probably budgeting in your mind, because you know what your income is. If you get paid every other Friday, okay, my paycheck, this is how much my paycheck's going to be, and this is what I have to pay in my bills. So in your mind, you are actually budgeting. But if you take the time to put this down on paper and write it all down, and use many financial institutions right now, they have such great tools that they can track. You can set this up and you can track where you spend the majority of your money. Do this for 4 months so that you can see, wow, it looks like I spent a lot of money in entertainment. Oh, it looks like I spent a lot of money in going out and eating. If you set this into your plan and you use this as a tool, you're going to be able to use that to say, okay, I'm going to eat out less 2 times a week. You can really identify where your money is going. And when you can identify that, these tools help you shift so that you have a surplus for your lifeline activities. All right, basics of a budget. I'm just going to check my time. You will hear an alarm go off at about 10:23. I just set that because I get really excited. Now we're going to talk about the basics of the budget. So this is where you can start. For some of you, if you want to use your phone, you want to go into your notes. If you want to go to your financial institution and see what type of tools they have. Like I said, most financial institutions have great tools on their website to offer you for budgets. Otherwise, go ahead, grab a piece of paper and a pen. What you want to do is you want to start off with your earned income. How much money do you earn and take home? Your take home is really going to be where you want to start this. That's your net income after they take taxes, after you've, if you have the luxury and the benefit of paying into your 401k, how much earned income do you have? So write that down. And I think typically it's easiest to do it month by month initially. So take your earned income for 1 month. And I'm just going to use earned income, but if you're fortunate enough where you receive other income, if you have a trust, if you have income because you have made really great investments and you get interest income, go ahead and include that. The next thing that you're going to do is you're going to make a list of what your expenses are. And your expenses, I'd start off with your fixed expenses because that's the easiest. That would be if you pay rent, your cell phone bill, if you have a car payment, these are all set fixed expenses. You know exactly what that expense is. Your variable expenses would be how much do you pay in gas a month? We just had an increase in gas prices, so that's changed a little bit. That could be shifting your budget. Also, groceries. How much do you spend on groceries? Do you go grocery shopping with a list and you go grocery shopping with a plan of the meals you're going to make? That's a really important question because if you do that more often, you can keep track of what you spend your money on. You can also see, am I using the groceries that I'm purchasing, or am I throwing away valuable groceries because I thought it sounded good to make a salad and then I never made it because I was just too tired. So these are really important things. So take your income minus your expenses. And then this is going to equal your net income or the loss at the end of the month. This is going to show you I have $2.37 left over at the end of the month, or it's going to show you that you have been in a deficit. You don't have leftover money at the end of the month. And if this is the case, that could be why if you have credit card debt, that you can't get the credit cards paid off or they're going up further. And I know that even in the last 14 months, this has been a very unique time. So many of you have such different life journeys right now. But this is why it's so great to go ahead and start writing down your budget, making this part of your habit, making this part of your life, because it's part of your behavior. And COVID has put us in a position that is not comfortable for the majority of us, but it's a situation that a lot of us are experiencing. If you Googled COVID emergency funds right now, you would be shocked at how many things come up. The main thing that comes up for COVID emergency funds is the stimulus checks that has been, that the government is sending out to the majority of us so that we can go spend more money in the community. But I wanted to Google it specifically for this class just to see what they were talking about with the lack of emergency funds for us as individuals. And it took me a while to scroll down there, but many of us, and as COVID has really brought to the attention anyone in the financial industry, for many of you that are here today, myself included, that it's been hard. Why didn't we? At least I'm going to let you know I didn't have an emergency fund of $1,000. I know why I didn't. And that is why I'm really more passionate and focused on how do I get there? Right now I have that, but we're almost in May and there's a reason for that. Normally at the beginning of the year, when I get my tax returns back, that's where I usually have a savings. By June, it's usually not there for that $1,000 or 500. Again, I shared earlier in one of our conversations, I'm a one income household. So for me and having my two daughters that are currently now at about 19 and 20, things have shifted a lot for me. But I can tell you there was a time when I had a mortgage payment, I had daycare, I paid for diapers, and there was not a savings. I would wait until I knew that I was getting my tax returns back. And then that is how I would dissect. I would take a portion of my tax returns for savings. I would take a portion of that to pay off or towards a credit card. And then the rest, it was like, okay, what trip can I plan for us? Which we usually take one trip annually in July, and that is where that typically would go. So again, this is why it's really important to look at our basics of our budgets. And these change all the time. Our income, our fixed and variable. In the summertime, I know in my own personal life, that is where we had sports. When softball season, May through the very end of July, that was our big season. We would do a lot of traveling. So my gas expenses would go up. I would pack a cooler, and it got to a point where my girls just couldn't handle peanut butter and jelly sandwiches anymore. So often I would find out that on Sunday, or I would treat Sunday, if we finished up our tournament, I would usually take them to Chipotle. And that was part of my budget. There was just a lot of different things that went into that budget. But I also found that if we had tournaments in Salem and I was driving to Salem for the day, there was a lot of areas I didn't really spend money because I was at the softball field. But again, that's just an example. Winter can tend to have a couple extra expenses. What about when we have a winter full of heavy rains, and or if you live somewhere where there's a lot of snow, do you get snow tires? These different things really go into play. Do you like winter sports? Do you like winter activities? If you love to ski, you will know that skiing is a little bit more expensive. Once you have your skis, that's really great. But even just having skis, that could be something that you budget. But to go up to Mount Hood and get your ski pass, those can be more expensive. This is also when you look at these basics of the budget, when you look at that very end, do you have a surplus or a shortfall? What can you do if you have a shortfall? What adjustments can you make so that you have a surplus? So I shared with you in my 20s, I worked a second job. And I had goals. I wanted to go to Hawaii for my 21st birthday. I think that was the first goal. The second goal was I wanted to go to Germany for 2 weeks and visit one of my friends. I wish that more people would have talked to me that I could have purchased a home because I worked for 2 jobs. I worked 2 jobs in my 20s. I bet about a good 4.5 years of my 20s. And I could have purchased a home then. I didn't have anyone share with me that was a possibility. And it really is. So if you want to buy a home, I did buy a home in my 20s, but I could have bought a home probably when I was about 23, 24. I was renting, I had roommates. So again, if you are someone that is going to go into the trades, I love to use this as an example because if you're going into the trades, your income is going to start out higher. And as you work in these apprenticeships and you learn these skills, you might take 2 weeks out every 6 months for your education. You end up, for all the hours that you put in, that is what gets you towards your increase in your income. And if you go into the trades, if you're 18, 19, and you go into the trades right after high school, by the time you're 24, 25, you could be making a really substantial income. You could be making $32 an hour. If you go into construction, again, when we talked about financing college or comparing schools and education, one thing I really love is that many of the high schools have these great trade programs in place right now. So for construction, if you go into construction in your first year, because you're starting at the bottom and that's a learning time frame and you have to get those hours, you might make $35,000, but within a year and a half, you could easily be making $60,000 worth of income. So at 21 years old, if you're making $60,000 income, what are your goals? Do you want to buy a house? Because if you want to buy a house and you make $60,000 a year, there's a really great opportunity. Go talk to someone. If you're going to have roommates, why not you own the home and then your roommates pay you $500 or $750 for each room? You know, these are just really great reasons why a budget is such a successful tool. And again, when it shows you your surplus or your shortfall, here's a really great one, and I'm going to share this with you all. I was in a class one time and we were talking with the students, and this phenomenal teacher brought up that there was a passion that he had. He would go on and he would go to garage sales, he would go to estate sales and pick up silverware, really lovely silverware that actually had value. And then he would sell it on eBay. So he could sell one single fork that he got for maybe 10 cents, 50 cents, and he could sell that for maybe $4. So all I'm going to say is if you are someone, or if you find that you're an emotional spender, if you're able to find a good deal and you can turn around and sell it on eBay or Facebook Marketplace, and that could provide some additional income for you, whether it's $5,000, whether it's $1,000. If on your Lifeline activity, you have a new cell phone, what can you do to raise $1,000? So in today's time, when we have Facebook Marketplace, or you have Snapchat where you want to show to your friends some different things that you want to sell, use that. It's just great. There's all these great opportunities right now. Use these as your tools. All right, income. So we already discussed this. You can get gifted, loaned, earned. Earned, most of us fall under that. What's really great is if you invest your funds and that's part of your Lifeline activity, that's where you will fall into the portfolio income and you will be able to receive more income later on in life. All right, expenses. We did talk about that again as a fresh reminder. Fixed expenses would include rent, car insurance, any loan payments that you have, phone bills. That would be a really great one. Your Northwest Natural Gas, if you want, that's a really good utility bill that is really a variable, but you can set that as a fixed. I think that's a really good tool to think about. And the purpose of that is because typically in the winter, we see that our gas bills will go up a lot more because it's cold. And if it fits in your budget that it was only $75 a month all year, that's something that you can set up with Northwest Natural Gas. And I think that that helps a lot of people's expenses because in the summertime, typically our gas bill might be $24. That again is dependent. Variable, food, clothing, gas, taxes, entertainment. Gas is a big one right now that we've seen rapidly go up. Would you rather live like a poor college student now or when you're retired? This is again why we're talking about these tools. Put on your Lifeline, especially right now if you're close to retirement or you're far away from retirement. Right now, I wish there would have been more conversations with me that people would have let me know you are not going to miss putting this little amount aside for your retirement. Now, in where I'm at in my life, I do miss that I didn't take those opportunities. I can tell how it's affecting my future life and my retirement. Needs versus want. This is really important. You have a need or a want. And that kind of had to go with the question, what would you do if you won the lottery? What would you do with those funds? When you put out your Lifeline activities and your goals, that also helps you detour from buying your wants and sticking with your needs so you can achieve your individual goals. How to start a budget? Well, we talked about taking your income minus your expenses equals your net income and loss. The next step that you want to do is you want to pick a time period. You want to project your income and expenses. So again, this is why if you do it month by month, it's really great because there are certain months where your expenses might be more, and there might be certain months where your income is more, depending on how you're paid. Calculate your income minus your expenses, and your income needs to exceed your expenses. So that's why we talked about when you put your budget out, you can see what are some side hustles that I could do or some gifts and talents that I have where I could raise some extra funds. Where can I cut expenses? I'll tell you one thing right now. If you're writing your goals down, you're writing your lifeline, and if you take advantage of some of the tools that your financial institution has, you will be able to see if you spend the majority of your money stopping by Chipotle, that's a big one in our family, or stopping by Dutch Bros, or stopping by McDonald's. How much of that can you cut out? If you don't want to cut it out all the way, can you cut down at least 5 trips? How much money would that save you? And how about if you cut out 5 trips and use those funds, if it equals $35, to put in some type of retirement or some type of savings? Budget busters, unexpected expenses. This is why we write these things down, because this way, if you're putting your earned and your expenses, we want this savings for the unexpected. Brakes on your automobile. That was just a big one for me. I know it's going to come, and this is with car maintenance. That's really to go into a savings account. Unrealistic budget line items. This would be my daughter was driving my car and accidentally popped my tire. That was very unexpected. This is a realistic one, but there can be unrealistic budget line items. If you don't have car insurance, if you own your car free and clear and you decided not to have any car insurance and you get in an accident, that is nothing that any of us plan for. That is going to be a real big thing. If you rely on that automobile to get to work, how are you going to take the next step forward? Not following your budget, lack of necessary adjustments. There's that word, adjustments. So adjust is your friend. Just remember, adjust helps you go along in life, and that's just part of the program. Not including what if scenarios. You always want to have that what if scenario, and that can be positive and negative. How do you keep track of your money? So many of us do it differently. Mint is an app that you can put down. Some of us go through a check register. You know, the financial institutions have made it so easy for us with mobile banking. Which budgeting tool is right for you? This is really important. For me, I'm a visual person, so I love to write things down. I like to see that, and I also like the tools that I have with my financial institutions. I can visually look at a color-coded thing. Oh, there goes my timer. I love visual and color-coded, and my financial institution has it pretty much, so I can look at that at the end of the month and just kind of see where I'm at. Banks versus credit union. Here's a really friendly reminder and how you can use your bank versus your credit union for your loans, for your savings, for your checking. Just as a friendly reminder, banks are for-profit. They operate to serve shareholders. They pay taxes. They usually have multiple branches, and they may have a wider product variety. They also might have a branch on every single corner. Whereas a credit union is not for profit, it operates to serve members. They may have lower interest rates, lower fees. 2 key things: not for profit. The credit unions profit, but what they do is they take that profit and they give it back to their members and their community. And that can be in the form of the lower interest rate, the lower fees. Whereas the bank, they are for profit. So when they do make a profit, that is so that there is one on every corner. But here's just a quick fun tip if you have a credit union. On the back of your debit card, there is a little triangle and it says co-op. Make sure that you use this. You can go to any other credit union. 7-Eleven has a really great cash machine. So if you want to take cash out, and it has that symbol, what that symbol lets you know is that you're not going to get charged a fee. I have seen if you have 4 fees for using automated teller machines, the ATM, in 1 month, that's $40. That's $480 in a year. That's almost $1,000 in 2 years. So make sure that you're looking at your banks and your credit unions. How to compare financial institutions. What benefit does the financial institution offer? Look at the fees. If you have credit cards, what kind of fees? Do you have annual fees? What is the interest rate that you have on your credit card? Compare your credit card to another financial institution. What kind of accessibility does it offer? Does it have rewards? What is important to you? These are really important questions. Other accounts and services. What's really great today is we've got online banking, direct deposit. I don't say direct deposit, but if you have direct deposit, use this as a tool. You can take one paycheck and you can have a direct deposit go into your main checking account and into 3 different savings accounts. It could be as simple as $35 going into a savings account that you don't use until it's the end of the year. Great fun tip. All right, safe deposit box, certificates of deposit, those are called CDs, overdraft protection, so you don't get as many fees. Managing your accounts, this is your responsibility. So that's kind of why I wanted to really share with you. If you have a credit union, here's the front of my little credit union. But on the back, you're going to see that there is a symbol. So when I get cash and I use my debit card, I am looking for the closest credit union, or I know where the 7-Elevens are so that I can go grab some cash and I'm not charged. I used to go to the grocery stores a lot, but I know that that has changed just to grab some extra cash. Can you believe your account balance? So make sure that you're checking your balances. I know for my daughters, they are typically on their mobile accounts every single day checking their balance, their outstanding deposits, their purchases. One thing I did have to share with them is make sure that they still were checking at the end of every month to go through their statement to make sure that that looked correct. Avoid fees, save on ATM fees, track your spending, set up direct deposit, ask for occasional fee reversal if you find yourself in a situation where you're charged a fee. Life happens. Debit versus credit. Debit, that is your own money. Credit, you're borrowing from the future and you're paying interest. Credit card could also have rewards, but you want to have an action plan when you use your credit card. These are tools. Debit's your own money. Credit is a tool that you can use. You've got to make sure you have that action plan. Now what? Analyze. All right. Goals and tools, inventory sheet, bank account review, spending analysis. These are SMART goal tools. Now what? Let's plan. Create a budget, develop monthly payment schedules, develop your goals. Really take time to do a lifeline activity for yourself. This is really important. This is what, when you put down your lifeline activity, this is how you create your plan, and this is how you're going to get from point A to point B. All right, here is the last slide before questions. Now what? Adjust. Develop a plan, review it, and implement it. Set reminders to review. I've really, in my life at this stage, I'm going to tell you, again, my girls are 19 and 20. Now I actually sent myself reminders at the beginning of every month because I have new goals. When my girls were going at 155 miles an hour, or at least our lifestyles were, there was a lot of notes in my cell phone. There was a lot of things in here, and maybe twice out of the year, I would write down my budget. And a lot of that it really had to do that I was so busy, but I had to do this. I had to adjust, and I had to look at the different things so that I could set my plan for all of these different great things. So again, I'm just going to say the key word: adjust and SMART goals. With that being said, I'm going to end our slideshow and give it back to Harmony for any questions that we may have.
Thank you, Lori. We have a question and a comment I think that we can turn into a question. So the first one is, I've been looking at the fire budget, which is the Financial Independence Retire Early budget. Do you have any thoughts or suggestions or feelings about that one?
Okay, well, the first thing is I am not familiar with that budget. And so thank you. You don't know what you don't know until you know. So that will be going on my to-do list today. I will tell you, based off of the description that Harmony just gave me, my first thought process is I would go talk to a financial advisor. If you belong to a bank or a credit union, I will share with you, check into your financial institution and see who they partner with. You could easily start there. And again, it's only because I'm not familiar with the fire plan as we're talking, but I can tell you that you're going in the right direction. The next step that I would go look at is go talk to someone within your financial institution in the investment property world. And again, we have financial advisors with us at Unitas that we partner with, and I know that the banks do that. And they're just going to really help set you up to look at everything. And they're going to start with the budget. What we talked about with writing down your expenses, your income currently, get that started. And then have your lifeline activity of what you see coming up for your retirement, because they'll want that information. So everything that we discussed today, put that together, take it with your fire plan. And then it would be really great if that happens in the next month, if you could put some comments and come back to us and share with us how that worked out for you. Great.
Awesome. Thank you, Lori. And then we had a comment of, like, when talking about credit unions, that sadly, when traveling, credit unions can have their disadvantages. I'm going to make an assumption that maybe that's because you don't have like branches all over the place, but do you have any suggestions or tips and tricks where if you belong to a credit union or do your banking through a credit union and you are out of town or out of country, of how to navigate that?
Oh, I'm so glad this came up. So thank you. Let me share. And that's actually why I wanted to bring up something on my debit card. And again, there's just something right here where this little triangle here, it says co-op. It looks like when my debit card came out, it has a little line through it. So that says co-op. So this is what's really phenomenal. And this is why this is such a great question. I know that for us at Unitas, we have about 12 branches and we are local here in the community. And most of the credit unions that you see here are local within our community. That's what's so great, is they provide for our community. The credit unions throughout the United States and in the world have all come together so that when you do travel to another state or you go out of the country, you can have access to their machines. And that's why we have these co-op symbols, so that you can go to these machines and have the same advantages that you would for, let's say, Wells Fargo. Wells Fargo is throughout the United States. They have a lot of branches on every corner. So what we did as a cooperative credit unions throughout the world and the United States is that we all came together so that if you belong to one credit union, you can go to another credit union to take care of your transactions. Some branches still have what we call shared branching. If they don't have that, at least you can go use their ATMs to get cash and to do some transactions. So I hope that that helped with that. Great thing to bring up.
Thank you so much, Lori. I appreciate you being with us the last several weeks. I am dropping in the comments here to everybody. If you come up with questions or comments later on, please feel free to email us. We know how to get a hold of Financial Beginnings and Lori, and we can get you answers to your questions. There's also a link to more Fix It Fair resources. And then we love to hear from you. There's a link to a survey. And if you do that survey, then you get entered into our weekly raffle where you can win a Fred Meyer gift card. So much appreciation for you joining with us. It's been a blast Tuesday mornings being able to hang out with you, Lori, and learn all things financial. We would love to hear from you again, or if there's any other workshops that you're doing outside of the Fix It Fair, let us know and we can absolutely pass those along to our followers.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's been great.
Thank you. Everybody have a great rest of your week. We will see you later.
Have a great day, everyone.